Hey team, what's going on? In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my process that I have created for my coaching business that has allowed me to go from 0 to 7 figures in the first 12 months and then consecutively for the second year running. And this week is the second year to date where August 2022 was the first event that I had run for this particular business. And as a single owner operator, as an online coach, to be able to automate 90% of my marketing to sales process, I actually want to map this out for you so you can see what I had done to not just generate the leads that I did, but automate the sales process all the way through to booked calls, and to how I protected my time and what actually positioned me as the expert, and how you can potentially implement this inside your business as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share on the screen pretty much a no fluff, straight off the cuff talk through of my marketing funnel of what I've continued to still use for this particular business. So then hopefully you can see the intricacies of what it actually takes to get to 7 figures in a hybrid event online coaching business model. But more importantly, what I have done to ensure that I can still operate my business and still have a lifestyle at the same time. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. So how I started this business is I had this idea from the back end of a call with my mentor at the time, and he challenged me to extract my career capital to then leverage to provide a service to launch a product that I actually was aligned with, that I felt passionate to run, and that actually fit the market demand of what was going on at the time and still is to this date. And so at that moment back in June 2022 was when I had this idea to run military style immersions. And so when I then got to that point where I was like, this is what I'm going to do, then I went and found a property, then I went and found helicopters, and I went and found support staff and the idea for all of this, and I had hit launch. But I didn't just start with just hitting launch. I had to conceptualize what I wanted to do in terms of the product that would fit my ideal target market and solve their biggest problem. And so I did. And I got to this point where I then had no leads. I had no idea who it was that I was going to talk to first until I got really clear on my niche. So the first step that I personally took, the step one for me in this process. So step one for me in this process was I had to get super clear on my ideal target market. The niche for me was the most important concept that I think a lot of people overlook, is they just slap something up and hope for the best, especially when it comes to paid marketing. Organic you can get away with because you can throw it up and you can look at, who's responding to the post and the stories, and you can DM them and have conversations. However, for paid advertising, it's a bit more different because you have actual specific data you can measure. But if you just then slap something up without understanding this first step, then you're just then going to burn through money. And I understand the concept that you're either going to be trading time or you're going to trade money. And when I joined the mentorship program with my coach at the time, I didn't have time on my hands. I didn't even have money. I paid my last $7,000 on my debit card to join his one-on-one coaching for the year. It was about $86,000 at the time. And I was put into this position where my back was against the wall. So I had to do something fast, and I had to do something with whatever I possibly could. So at the time, I had a digital agency that was bringing in monthly recurring revenue because I was still running paid advertising strategies and automating systems for small businesses. And I used that portion of the revenue to then generate leads through paid advertising. And the method that I had used was Facebook lead ads. And what I had done is at the time, I was selling a high ticket product. And because I was selling a high ticket product, that meant that I wanted, and I felt at the time, that it was important for me to jump onto sales calls. And because I was in this mindset that I had to jump onto sales calls because of the high price point, then I wanted the shortest way from a ad to then an inquiry. I wanted someone's name, I wanted someone's phone number, I wanted someone's email, so I could then send them a link to then talk with me on the phone or on Zoom. And that's what I did. So the first thing that I had executed on once I got clear on my niche was I then identified what was the right messaging. And for me, my ideal target market was a man in business. He was 30 to 40. He was in a relationship that was struggling to step into his true masculine for his family to thrive and his relationship to survive. And he was struggling in the areas of his ability to communicate and express and hold space for the feminine, being his partner at home, but also on how to then step up as a leader in his business to continue his growth, to provide more financially for his family. So when I then started to look at the messaging behind what it is that I needed to accomplish, my first ad, and this is the crazy thing, my first ad had no content from my events. The first ad had nothing with any testimonials. It didn't have any imagery from the actual event or what I had done in this program or in this course. It was a stock image of a soldier holding a weapon, and the caption was, "Become the leader that others will follow and your enemies will fear." And then the body copy of the ad was 3 days, 10 men, 1 mission. Are you up for the challenge? Question mark. That was the headline. And there was some other nuances like, do you want to improve your mindset, your discipline, your communication skills? Then it was, the call to action was click to see if you qualify. So straight away, when you are looking at this frame here to see if you qualify, automatically what is happening is people are now going, well, hang on, he doesn't take everyone. Therefore, I know that I need to then prove that I qualify. So what then happened after I had submitted or I had created this post or this ad, what happened was I then had, this was the process. So it was a lead ad like this. Then once they then had submitted their lead ad, they would then submit their SMS and their email. Then I then sent them an SMS and an email. And this was automated through Go High Level. Then from there, what I had then done is I had then sent them a link to a landing page. And on this landing page, there was a form. And there was details on the actual immersion. There was some small details. And the form then had a process. Now, in this form, there were 2 things that would happen. One tree down this direction here would be, are you a business owner? Yes or no? So the first thing that I was looking to do is I was looking to get a battle picture of the type of leads that were coming through, not just from the data from Facebook, but also the psychographic of the person that was wanting to apply to attend the immersion. Then at the time when I first launched this, I took both business owners and normal employees or people in careers. So then after they had then submitted the yes or the no, then the next questions that would then ask is, are you a man? Then they would say yes or no. Then what would happen from there is once they then said, are you a man, yes or no? Then it would then be questions regarding their business and their career. Now, a lot of people would look at this and they would say, why were you asking so many questions? And this is what actually happened at the time. It's like, why do you ask so many questions about business? See, a lot of men, when they want to apply for an immersion like what I have been running for the last 2 years, they want to get smacked on the ass by dad. They want to be told that they're failing in their relationship. They want to be told to do better. They want to get yelled at by someone in uniform and masked up because they want to feel like they've then gone to then do something about their problem. But then when they go home, they don't do anything about it. So what we do is I deliberately ask questions that is confronting. I'm asking questions in their business and in career regarding their income, their ability, who's their ideal client, what's their sales process, what are their goals, what are their challenges, their leadership, and their systems and processes. Things like that. And the application form process has changed over time, but this is the bare bones of the business section. Now, why would I be asking all these business questions, you may ask? The reason being is a lot of men get triggered when you ask them about how much money they make. There's a lot of shame around it. There's also a lot of guilt around not making enough money to provide for their families. A lot of men don't want to talk about their lack of ability in business. They think that their shit don't stink and they think that they're really good, but deep down, they're not. Some men would come through and they would talk about that their business is so successful. And then when you ask them about how much money they make $100,000 revenue, not profit. And they think that their business isn't actually the area that they need to work on. So they want to come through, they want to crawl through mud and they want to come do something physical. But what they don't want to do is actually work on the biggest problem in their life, which is their business. So then what we then do is we start to ask questions about relationships. Now, this was an important portion, whether they have children, whether they're married. And I was asking these particular questions because as a man, as a leader, to be an integrated man, you need to be able to hold space emotionally for women. You need to be able to lead your children, and you're either the cautionary tale or the example of what can be. Then the choice is always yours. So when we are then asking these questions, you've got to remember that myself and what I had been wanting to do, I wasn't building a mass market product. I don't need to have hundreds of thousands of people to be able to come through my process or my program to work with. I want a specific type of man who is in a particular area of their life and in their business that is actually wanting to pour fuel on the fire for them to grow and scale and to become the best version of themselves possible for their family and their team in business. I put all my blood, sweat, and tears into this and into the men that want to then join the mastermind on the back end of the event. So I have a selection criteria specifically not just to make sure that they're the right fit for the program. It's for us to then work long term. So for me, these questions, I am a big advocate that I listen to men on the calls of how they speak about their children, how they speak about their partners. And when they have had partners, then when they've had relationships where they have broken down and they then talk foul towards their woman, I then disqualify them and I then hang up the phone and then I don't allow them to reapply. I have a very strong values when it comes to family, and I will not stand and will not settle for men who trash mouth their partners, because majority of the time, if they were to actually look at themselves in the mirror, they were a massive contribution to the actual downfall of the marriage. They both play a part 100%, but that is the one thing that I'd wanted to do. So then for when they then go through their relationship, then obviously, because we would then talk about health and fitness. And inside the health and fitness aspect, we were talking about drugs, we're talking about alcohol, we're talking about exercise, we're talking about meditation. There's all of these questions because what we're doing is we're getting a clear battle picture of the man. We're getting a clear battle picture of the man. Who is he? What does he do? Why does he do it that way? How does he do it? What comes up for him, etc. So when they would then go through the pipeline and they would then fill out the form, then once we had then filled out the form submission, what would then happen from here is they would then be prompted to look at a calendar. Now on this calendar, they would then book in a time to speak with me or within the team. So then what would happen is once they've then booked in their time for the calendar, we would then send them an SMS and we'd send them an email to notify them of their calendar booking and to remind them of to actually show up. Now, over the last 2 years, we've now had 11,000 leads come through, and we are now, I believe, depending on the stats from this time of the call, we've now had 120 graduate. So if we think about it, we've got a 1% conversion on the back end that have then graduated the actual program, which means that the element between leads to then graduates, the elements in between that is, well, how many actually then apply, how many submit an application, how many show up to a booked call, how many then actually then close to the event, and then from the event, how many then join the mastermind. So these are the sort of key metrics for success that I was measuring along the journey to ensure that I knew exactly what area to then improve on and to what actually to look for. Now, once we then had the SMS and the email and the member show up on the call, then what we then would do is we would take payment, and this would then automatically inside Gel would trigger their welcome email. And from the welcome email, we had an intake form, a onboarding form, and we would also have them submit a photo. From here, once they had then had their welcome email submitted, they would then be welcomed into the community. And this online community was when they would then connect, they would communicate, and they would continue to remain in contact until they then attended the actual event. Now, the last event that we had in July, we had 21 show up. So 21 confirm and 20 showed up and 19 graduated. One decided to pull out after the first 24 hours. And prior to that, we had 35 people pull out within the last 2 to 3 weeks, which means that then we had close to about 45 to 50 for our last immersion in July, which means that there is a lot of a no show up rate for calls and also a no show up rate for the event. Now, you might ask yourself the question, why would someone do that? Why would someone want to not attend this event? Simple, fear. Now, it's not fear to do something physical, although that may be true. It's fear in their spirit that is understanding that what they're about to go through is an ego death. They're about to go through a death and a rebirth. A lot of the trauma that we uncover and that we actually help them by breaking them down and then rebuilding them is quite uncomfortable. And only a small portion of men are wanting and are willing to go through that process to completely change their life. So we have then needed to find a way to reduce the fear, but at the same time, the men that actually come through the program are the right men for us to then work with long term. So once they had then gone through the event, there'd be then 2 options that I had opened up for the community is they can then join the mastermind that we have access to, which is the elite, or they could then jump in and they could then be invited to apply for the officer's order, which is our highest mastermind, or for those men that were here where you're making over $1 million, then you'd then be invited to work with me personally one-on-one and to have access to our team with all of our marketing, sales, advertising, automation, and leadership support staff to then work with me one-on-one at the captain's table. So that was sort of the process. Now, we would have a small percentage of men who would then be suitable and qualified to then join the officer's order, and also for those that wanted to do the elite. Now, this is where, from a business standpoint, is where monthly recurring revenue would come in to supplement the loss leader being the actual event. So the event would be the step, and then would be the mastermind. Now, there's some benefits and drawbacks to running your business like this, because what happens is the event becomes the bottleneck, and that's what ended up happening. If I was to only have 10 to 15 people per event, and it was then every single quarter, then my mastermind would be limited to grow. If I was to then only allow and rely on people filling an event that was quite uncomfortable, quite fearful for them to actually experience, which means that my monthly recurring revenue, my ability to grow and scale this, was then limited. So then what I then had tested is I then tested to run the mastermind up front into the event. And I tested this with 2 intakes. And I'll be honest, the 2 intakes actually did really well. They were bonding before they attended, and they were bonding after they attended, which was great. But the difference between the 2 is, unless you know specifically the exact number of what is involved in running your mastermind, and to then gift them included in their mastermind, the event, you'll kill your business. So the moral of the story for the lesson that I had learned is you need to know your numbers. So what I have then done is I've simplified the process for me moving forwards, which means that everyone is now in the process of, you will see an ad, or they will then potentially consume content on social media. They will then go to the lead ad and they will then submit their details. From the details, they then still have to fill out the same application form. They then still have to then book a call, and then they are then invited to attend the event. Once they attend the event, then there is 2 masterminds that are available, which will be the officer's order and the captain's table. So it is a more streamlined community where there is 1 community offer and 1 one-on-one. Now, this is for me for simplicity and also for scalability that I have an opportunity to continue to do. But here's the thing, guys, and this is why I wanted to share this with you, is I wanted for you to understand that everything works and anything can work. The one element that I truly believe that a lot of people are missing, especially when you are wanting to grow and scale a business, irrespective of the industry. The thing that a lot of business owners in our mastermind, and also for the men that come through the event that we talk to, and then ultimately my friend circle, and what I see still to this day inside marketing and people online, is they're taking whoever and they're wasting time on tire kickers. You've heard that saying before. So how do you then avoid that? You should be, if you're not doing so, on your social platform. So if you've got, Insta, you've got Facebook, wherever you market your channels and you're driving them to a landing page or a website, let's say this is a website, right? Then your application form, majority of people do this. Inside here on their website, they'll just have a contact us form. And then once that form has then been submitted, it'll then go into their email inbox, and then a staff member, usually you, will then have to then call that lead with no context to their inquiry. What you should be doing is then inside this form, which is what we do with the guys in the mastermind, is we build out the form with a specific criteria of qualifying questions. And once we have then been able to identify what the qualifying questions are, then on successful submission, they either, based on their criteria, they either qualify or they don't. If they don't qualify, what we do is we then send them an email and we say, sorry, we don't fit that, we don't do that service, we don't provide that, or unfortunately we don't, and you don't qualify to work with us. If anything changes in the future, let us know. If it's a yes, then we can either send them a few things. We can send them to a landing page with a video. We can send them a capability statement. We can send them access to a community, or you can then send them straight to your calendar. Many ways to be able to take them through to the next step. But here's the thing, a lot of people aren't doing this. They're then wasting time on people that inquire. So when I then had my process where previously before people were submitting their lead ads, when they were giving us their details, the thing is every man was looking at our content. However, to qualify for us, you have to be a business owner. And the reason why you have to be a business owner is for what we actually do in our program and at the immersions, it is quite intense. And majority of high-level entrepreneurs even struggle with what it is that we do. It's a particular type of mentality that you need. And for majority of the men that we are working with, business owners have more of the capacity to do so, but they're also the ones that are wearing the most hurt because of all the added pressure with little to no support. So we're wanting to be able to help the ones that need the help the most, that will then have a larger ripple effect to then help more people because of the people that they lead and the service that they provide for all of their customers. So for us, we would have a part of our application form on the survey that if you say yes or no to the form and you're not a business owner, then unfortunately you will not qualify. If you are a business owner, then yes, you do qualify, which means you'll then continue down the process. This for me was a massive game changer because then I was only then reading through the forms. And then when I was reading through the forms and then I was then able to identify the particular type of person that was jumping on the call, then I could then take that. And here's the next thing. When you're looking to scale, after I hit the first 7 figures and I then started to then nearly double my ad spend, it was about $400 or $500 a day that I was spending at the time, I then needed a sales team. I needed support. I needed help because of how many people were wanting to apply and find out more information. So then what I then was able to do is based on the form submission, if someone was 3 to 5 mil and above, I would be able to then take that call, and anyone below that, I had a team to be able to then field all of the other guys that were more at the level of a sales rep that wasn't the actual founder of actually who built the actual program. So you'll get to that point, and in order to get to that stage where you have a team, you first need to test the product. You need to systemize your process with the single marketing channel that you have, and to be able to get to a point where you've documented it so clearly that when someone is then onboarded inside your team, they know exactly what it is that you do and how you do it. So then when you're then keeping them accountable and you're holding them to a particular metric, you know exactly what to look for because you've already done it. So I wanted to share with you a bit about how it works. So if you're watching this video, you may want to actually apply and attend the immersions. Well, now you know that there is a screening process designed specifically to ensure that we only allow a particular type of person through the program for you and I to be able to work, but also for you to be surrounded by like-minded men in business. If you are also in a online coach or consulting business, or you are a service-based business owner and you're looking and watching this video and you don't have these processes and systems in place, then I would highly suggest to like and subscribe, follow this channel, because I'm going to be sharing with you more about my business lessons on this, but also potentially getting in touch with me to see if you do qualify to work with us in the mastermind, that I can help you actually build all of this stuff. Because once you understand that you can extract your career capital from what you've done, position yourself as the expert, and you can protect your time by qualifying people in and out through an application form funnel process, you then can operate a business that you truly want, where you're working with only people that you want to work with. That for me saves your time, saves a lot of stress and pressure, but also allows you to work with the people that you know you can help the most. And if you are in that position where you're wanting to find out more information, please reach out. Love to have a chat. But I'm curious, comment below. Let me know what you learned from this video. And I look forward to bringing you more content around this 7-figure coaching business model that I've been able to build in the last 2 years. And if it brings you value and you can take something from it where you can implement in your business, then great, awesome. But if you just like to enjoy listening to people talk and watch people do videos like this, then awesome too. Thank you for your time and attention and your energy. I appreciate it. But until then, I'm going to continue doing what I do best, and I hope you do too. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.